Hey, what's up to the point, listeners? It's your boy, Chris. This is going to be a fun episode. You know why? Because my man, Chatty P, on the other side has Lil Pete, as I call him, real name Julian Peterman, sitting on his lap at home. He is on dad duty today. So I'm sure you'll be able to hear Lil Pete on this episode a time or two until Granny gets there to help out.
Nope. She just pulled up.
Oh, there's Granny.
Yep, there he goes.
Well, hey, buddy, that's actually perfect because this is, just a me and you episode. And you know what? Surprisingly, believe it or not, buddy, these actually do really well. This podcast with just you and I do really well. The one with me, you, and Aaron was awesome. Like, it actually also did really well.
Yeah.
But it was probably because of me and you, not so much Aaron. I'm guessing.
Oh,
Naturally. Hey, real quick before we jump into this thing, and to all the listeners, just so you know, here's kind of what we're going to talk about in this episode. So I'll come back to it, but I think the title is going to be the business playbook that we wish we would have had 10 years ago. That's what we're going to hit on. I'm going to hit on the marketing side, the people and leadership side, the operations and scaling side, and also a little bit of a legacy and perspective to close this bad boy out. But real quick, before we get started, two quick things. Number one, Chad, it was fun to see your green screen recordings for our Redbird Roofing video this morning. I didn't think you were recording those until tomorrow. So
yeah, Jared had a busy schedule tomorrow, so we just did them today. But yeah, my acting was on point, I think.
Your scared face is dialed in, I'll tell you. Actually, it worked out good because it allowed me to kind of just play off of what you did. So I'll be curious to see how that thing pans out. Great job, man. Your acting skills are improving.
It's like recording on two sides of the country, always interesting. You were played by a microphone stand with a shirt on it.
Awesome.
Yeah. I was like, Jared, what do we got working here? He's like, that's Chris. So that's who you're going to look at. I said, okay, sounds good.
That's actually cool that the guys can work together to figure that stuff out for us with green screens. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
The one with I don't know if you saw my email on it, but the one we're supposed to record for November with the Thanksgiving theme, he's like, oh, I want to get a video of you guys hugging. I was like, oh, can we please do that? Because Chad loves hugging. Let's make it a really long hug. I'm like, wait, why did you even recommend hugging? Like, what the hell are we doing? Why are we hugging?
Yeah.
Not doing that.
Leave it to the creative guys.
I just imagine you and how much you would love that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Real long, awkward Keith Mercurio hug.
Yeah.
Okay, hey, listen, I want to jump into some dad jokes before we get started. And, because now this is rolling out in October, I thought it was appropriate to roll out some Halloween jokes. What do you think?
I think that fits.
Okay, great. And since, Julian's there, you can recite these back to him. He probably won't get it. Maybe Blake will have a better understanding of this. But if nothing else, you can tell them to Emily. I'm sure she'll really appreciate them.
She loves my jokes.
Oh, I'm sure. Okay, here we go. And actually, for all the listeners who've been listening to the last few weeks, dad jokes have gotten progressively more vulgar, you could say. Not my fault, but progressively more vulgar. These are pretty clean. Okay, just some good, clean Halloween jokes. So why don't skeletons fight each other? You're a smart guy, Chad.
They don't have a bone to pick? No?
No.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you were going to get it too. Mm-hmm. They don't have guts.
Oh, I get it. It's good.
I saw you processing over there, though.
Yeah, trying to think of it.
I thought you had it. Okay. This one probably a little bit harder. Why do vampires, I want to switch it up a little bit, skeletons, vampires, lots of different characters at Halloween. Why do vampires not want to become investment bankers?
Oh, God. Yeah. Where do we start?
This is an easy one. I mean, there's so many answers.
Yeah.
The real answer is they hate stakeholders.
Okay.
They get killed by the stakes,
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Last one. What do you call two witches who live together?
Broommates.
Hey, You got it. That's really good. I'm so impressed you got that.
Yeah.
That surprised me. Okay, good job. I was just about to give you a clue. You didn't even need it.
Yeah, it's going to be a hell of an episode.
It's going to be a hell of an episode. I'm so impressed with you right now. Holy crap.
Every once in a while.
Let's just keep it rolling then, because I'm impressed. You're on one. Like, let's keep it rolling. So I'm going to jump right into this episode again. We're talking about, the playbook that maybe Chad and I wish that we had 10 years ago, or what I've experienced, with different contractors 10 years ago. So we'll go with mostly just probably going to interview a lot on this, Chad, and kind of get your perspective. But let's go and let's start to think like not too high level, but let's start to think as tactical as you can. And let's start on the marketing side of things. So what's one marketing channel that you wish you doubled down on earlier? And which one turned out to be a complete waste of money?
Yeah, so I would say early on. So I think, branding, huge believer in. I think it's definitely something. We did not rebrand our trucks, so what most people know us as, until 2021. So we've only actually had that truck and actually this name, we're not always called Peterman Brothers, since April of 21. Yeah. Now people are like, you guys have been that forever. I'm like, no, it's actually just been 4 years, 5 years. And so for me, it was always we had white vans with letters. I mean, they looked nice. We didn't, look like we were selling candy to kids or anything like that. They were nice, but I only think of when we were smaller and growing, if we would have pulled the trigger on that sooner, I think it's a big investment, right? You got to get it. You got to get the brand built. You got to have the story behind it. You got to wrap the trucks and so on and so forth. And I just think the way people know us now, could they have known us then? I always tell the story of what convinced me to do the branding. What was the last straw is we got to do this is I met with a guy who their office is literally down the street from ours. And I met with him for coffee and I was like, hey man, you guys are blowing up. What are you doing? And they had the wrap trucks with the brand and all this. You guys are blowing up. How many trucks you got rolling around? He's like, I think we have four. And I'm like, you gotta be shitting me. This is my market. I should know what's going on. And yet that was the thing that told me oh, I get it now. It's because they're recognizable. You see them rolling down the road. And I think, I think a lot of people have jumped on that bandwagon. So I'm excited to see a lot of these companies that are, just starting out or a little bit smaller and looking to grow, because they've embraced the branding piece, I think is going to, make a huge difference. So for me, that's the big one that we didn't do for a long time. And I wish we would have done sooner.
Yeah, that actually is a great piece of advice. That you personally experienced. And I remember your logo before and after. So I knew of the business before and after, and it's significantly different.
Yeah, 100%. That was one of the worries, I think, because we, it used to be just Peterman Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing, which was a mouthful to say. I hated when people asked me where I worked. I'm like, oh shit. But now it's really easy. Peterman Brothers. That's it. So yeah, that was the one thing I think looking back, I wish we would have done sooner, but it probably, it all worked out. So here we are.
And you just had the traditional red and blue.
Yeah.
On the white van. I love that you threw out that we weren't giving out candy to kids. Very Halloween videos on that
exactly.
one. So well played.
Yeah.
And by the way, for those of you looking to get a brand done, and there's a couple of great options out there, but one of our sponsors, Prolific Brand Design, is one of them. It's done plenty of logos for a lot of home services. This is a great time to plug it, by the way.
There you go. Speed you right up.
There you go, buddy. That was perfect. Okay. So the back half of that was, what's one of these marketing decisions that turned out to be a complete waste of money, or the one that you still, when you think about it, you're like, okay, that's the one that gives me the most pain.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Or it could be even just the one that you're you thought it was going to be so much more than what it turned out to be.
Yeah, man.
Hey, and maybe you need to think about this too from not your current size business. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So let me spin it this direction. because I can't think of like one in particular, but I think this will provide some context. So, what I will tell you is when we were smaller, I was in charge of the marketing, right? And so it was kind of this like spray and pray approach. It's like, I don't know anything about marketing. I guess we get into the Val packs and the money mailers and the newspaper and the, this was like, we didn't have the dollars to be on TV. We did some radio. That was, a thing type thing. But I would say just for listeners, I think the key is, and we talk about this all the time, and I think it's become more mainstream, but like back in 2015 even, which is crazy to even think about, like you didn't measuring marketing like, yeah, we put like a different phone number on there, but it wasn't something we were like looking at religiously. And I think that's been a really powerful thing that, you obviously talk about a ton, and a lot of people are out there talking, is like understanding what's working. Like, I don't think like back in the day, like, I don't know that we knew what was working. Like, it was just like, well, we're spending money on marketing. So, and the business is growing. So I guess it's working. And I just think we could have been so much more efficient with our spend. That, we were just doing things to just say we were doing marketing, right? It was just like, put it out there, make some copy, do this, do that. And we never really measured it. We didn't look at offers. We were just very, I don't know, like just novice at the whole damn thing. And I think that, it taught us a lot of lessons, but I think we could have probably learned those lessons a little more cost effectively. But I think that's the biggest thing with any marketing. I don't know, like, hey, stay away from this. We see it still today, being in different markets. Sometimes a certain marketing piece works really well in a certain market, but it doesn't work in this other one. Or it works for 3 months and then all of a sudden it just falls off a cliff. Or, all of these things. So I think like people are always asking me like what my marketing like spend is. Like what do you spend on, what percentage do you spend on this? What percentage do you spend on that? Yeah. I mean, digital's pretty consistent, but all of the other stuff, like it ebbs and flows. Like, okay, we're going to do more here. We're going to do less here. We're going to do TV in this market, but we're not going to do as much in this market because it just doesn't seem to work or whatever it may be. So I think that is critical. And then I also think too, when it comes to measuring marketing, is being realistic about, because we see this a lot, is are you converting these leads? Because there's marketing, which generates leads, but then you start looking at ROI. Well, ROI is pretty closely tied to performance. And we see this most notably in like an area where we've got, let's just use an example. We've got a really good electrician, but in another market, maybe the electricians just aren't as great at closing and selling big jobs. Well, like if I got one electrician I can give him 4 leads and he comes back with, 50 grand. And then I give another one and I give them 20 leads, but they come back with, 12. Well, then I'm going to look at that marketing source and say, well, that doesn't work. Well, maybe it works, but your converting sucks. So I think that's important to think about when you're analyzing a marketing source, is like, are we doing our job out in the field to make the most of this lead? And sometimes, yeah, maybe it's a bad lead. Maybe you're running into credit deads or something like that. But I think a lot can be said for, are you doing your part? You talk about it all the time. Well, I can send you all the leads, but if you can't book the damn call, I can't help you there.
Yeah, I think that, well, yeah. And I think half the battle still is that, how do they know, right? Because some people, like, but you have you've got Matt, you've got a team of people, like you guys look at these metrics, and a lot of the smaller companies don't have the person or the time to do those things, or for whatever reason. So the thing that I've always looked at is how can I, Rhino, Chris, who's been this nearly 2 decades, right, for doing digital for home services contractors, but is how do I do it for them? So that way they know what, they don't have to worry about somebody doing it for them. And because I completely agree with you, the conversation really has to be, if I'm a marketing company, my job is to bring you new opportunities to sell something, right? Like that's the job that you've hired me to do. But you have some stake in that too. You have some accountability in that as the contractor. And that's oftentimes where there's always a miss, is there should be 2 metrics that we're looking at. How are we performing and how are you performing? So to your point, your ROI, your performance. That's really important for the marketing manager, the marketing coordinator, or you who's listening, who is all things, to pay attention to, because you can make a really poor decision because of your performance, but putting it on the marketing company. Because if the marketing company says, hey, crystal clear, you only brought in 100 service leads and 50 install leads, and so-and-so is booking at a 28% rate. But hey, even though you only closed X amount in revenue, what's the pending revenue that came, that you've got proposed that hasn't closed yet that came from the lead volume? Like, you have to take into consideration all that stuff. It's just no one's willing to do the work to do it. But now, now with all of our, most digital marketing companies, I think today have some variation of like pretty decent reporting with just all the technology. Where it kind of brings it full circle is like, we're able to, with RhinoTrax 2.0, we're able to do the integration with ServiceTitan, so I can pull in the revenue and attach it to each lead source. But I also want to see the pending proposals that didn't get closed, and what does that revenue look like? Because that will give me a different, maybe instead of it being a 7x, it's now a 12x if we would have closed all that. So it's just, you need to look at the actual opportunity. So no matter which, marketing channel that you do, you should be able to measure it from end to end to find out, is it your marketing company, or is it you, or is it both? And then you can make a good decision. And I want to piggyback off that on another quick thing that you talked about. And this is for everybody listening, that I think this will be really helpful. It depends on where you're at with the business too, right? Because you really got like 3 forms of marketing. You got your branding that you can do, you've got direct marketing, and then you've got creative marketing. Creative marketing being like radio, billboards, TV, shit like that, where you're trying to create interest, right? That also kind of falls into the branding category. Whereas like direct is like you're like, somebody specifically looking for exactly what you do with no business name in mind, i.e. Google, or now Chat GPT, or whatever your LLM platform is. But you can buy that customer, right? And that's the world that I'm in. But it's more expensive, right? Because it's a demand lead. So it just depends on where you're at with your business. If you're in a position where you can't spend money on branding because you need business now to even survive, well, probably ought to consider doing some direct marketing versus some creative advertising, right? Like Chad, you didn't do that stuff until much later and much bigger, when you said, okay, now I'm not just going to do, you're doing all of it. Now you can start to do more things and work on the brand. And I'm a big fan of working on the brand, but you have to, like, perfect examples with Redbird, we pumped so much money into OTT and our branding right out of the gate to try and build it quick in a small little area, right? We tried to look like you say, we tried to look like the big fish in a small pond.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think too, on the branding side of things, like, we were able to do that because you created the brand and the story. Like, don't go spend money on branding if you actually don't have a brand to brand. Like, you better have something behind it. Like, it would have been silly, and like, I guess maybe that was like something we fell into. Like, if we would have done branding with our brand when we first started, it probably wouldn't have worked real well, because our trucks looked like everybody else's trucks, and like there was really no story crafted on it and all of this stuff. So like, make sure you get the brand right. And everybody has a story. Like, I've had people ask me that, like, well, I don't really have a story. I'm like, I'm sure you got one in there. And if you don't, make one up to a certain degree. I mean, don't be dishonest, but I mean, like, make up a story. Like, I've seen all these ones that, like, I saw one the other day, like, they have like a mascot, and it's like, oh yeah, this is our, something. I mean, I don't know if it's true or not, but it seemed interesting. So, maybe that's a reason to do business with them. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and that's actually, some people aren't creative enough to do that too. So it's good, because this is perfect, because this has given me so many good plugs. We used Prolific Brand Design for our Redbird Roofing brand, and we did create a brand story. That's what Chad's talking about. It's super important to have that brand story, not just a logo. I've sat through a few now where Prolific just does that. Like, they've already got a brand. We're not trying to create it, but they're helping them come up with the actual brands to, the brand story, because they couldn't do it on their own. So you can do those little services, but that's really important to tell that story, because that's actually what really matters. That's how you start to like connect the feelings to the business.
For sure.
Okay, so I'm going to pivot off of it. That's probably the most we've talked about marketing and branding on an episode in a long time.
For sure.
And some of the feedback I got at Pantheon, because we were just there, I guess, a couple weeks ago when this airs, is people were asking us to do more, like, of talking around marketing and branding. And I guess I don't know why. I don't know why I dodge it so much. Maybe because I don't want people to feel like it's a Rhino podcast. But we should do more of it, because we both do it. So, okay, I am going to ask one more quick marketing question. You know what? No, I'm not. I'm going to skip this one because you kind of covered it already. I'm going to switch over into your favorite topic, which is like people and leadership in the business. And this is going to be more so around like another question that you get often. We've talked about this is when did you like what was your first like major hire, right? Like and you probably have a perspective from today versus what you had say the 10 years ago or whatever. But what's the first leadership hire you wish you had made sooner, and how did waiting too long to make that hire cost you, or some variation of that?
Yeah. So one I wish I would have made sooner. So there's a number of them, a lot of them.
Hey, you know what? Hey, real quick, if you can, and if you can't, it's totally okay. But if you can, maybe preface it with like where you were at like where was the business at and the size, like so somebody can reference it.
Yeah. I mean, because like if I were to say like here recently, it's been like bringing in a really good CFO, but not everybody needs a CFO right now. So let's take it back to, and I've talked about this ad nauseum, but like I feel like we had like the call center was just like answer the phone, like we had Ashley and Pam and Christy, and they answered the phones. Hell, I even answered the phone sometimes when we didn't have enough people. You just answered this, hey, how's it going? But like we had no process, no procedure. We weren't looking at booking rates. We were just pick up the phone, can we answer the phone? And so like for me, I wish I would have found somebody and even I could have done it, but I wasn't focused on it. Right. It wasn't a thing. And so anytime I get a chance, it's like, where's your call center at? Like we need to focus on that. Like I did the call center thing at the roofing conference, that we were at in wherever the hell we were at. I don't think Hoffman was there.
Texas
at the, in Dallas. And then I'm doing another one in February, and it's all on call center. Like these are the things you need to focus on. And so for me, it was like, if I could have found someone who was like really good at that and knew all of the things, like I think that would have like propelled our business, because I often think about like all of the business that we lost because we weren't focused on answering the damn phone. Yeah. It's just like market, see what rings, pick it up. I still laugh. I mean, like the amount of detail and process we put on when a sales lead comes in today, like the way we want to handle it, how quick we want to get out there. We used to, I kid you not, when I first started, I did a little bit of sales. I know I was the worst salesperson ever in the history of HVAC sales, because I can't ask for the sale, and so I would come back to my desk, and there would be these little service tickets on there. And this is in 2015. Okay. 2015. So not that long ago. We would be on service tickets, and they would take a message because they didn't know what my schedule was, because I was just out running sales calls. And they would write the customer name, address, phone number, needs quote for AC and furnace. And then I would call them back to schedule. I don't know, honestly, how we stayed in business. Like looking back on it, you're like, that is the dumbest thing we would ever. I mean, we still laugh about it today. We're like, you remember that? Yeah, well, that wasn't the best practice ever. But it all goes back to how we book calls and the importance that you're putting on leads and all of that. Like we didn't even call them leads; they were just service calls. Everything was a service call. And I bet there's a lot of businesses out there that are still kind of in that thing. But I think you can propel your business forward. I tell people all the time, you don't need to spend more money on marketing. You just need to book all the calls that come in. If you do that, your business will probably double. I'm just going to guess. So that would, for me, that's the one. Looking back when we were smaller and trying to grow and trying to find our footing and where are we going to go and how are we going to take this? Like if I would have found someone who was like dialed into that, like I think it could have been really cool.
Do you think that, first off, I always love this topic because it's so true. And it's usually almost in every scenario, somebody has something to fix there.
Yep.
I mean, with our own company and with Redbird, we're like, hey, no, we're good on lead volume. We need to focus on our sales process and just this, all of it. Like how are we answering our phones? Are we doing a good enough job of booking these leads? And like, so it's just constantly trying to learn. But this is like companies of all shapes and sizes. Like Rhino, most people don't know this. We don't advertise it a whole lot, but we have a CSR coaching team in house, and they are badass. Now they're small, and like Gettle, perfect example. Like we work with Gettle, and they're constantly trying to improve their rate. We work with Any Hour, and we constantly trying to improve their booking rate. These are big, well built, huge companies, like some very sophisticated, and yet they're still getting CSR training. So I want to know from your perspective, what's the head count you think before you actually bring in like a CSR, like a manager of that team? I don't know that I have a good feel for it, other than like, well, once you have, 3-4 people, could one of those people be the manager? I don't know. But like, before you actually have to bring in a human being to manage a team, because I think, most people are thinking about it as an expense, right? Like not like you said, damn, I wonder how much we lost in sales. No one's really thinking, when you're small, you're not thinking about it like that. Most of them aren't. They're thinking about, oh, well, shit, this is just another, salary I got to pay, or another, employee I got to pay for. And they're not thinking about the outcome of tightening up the booking rate on the phone calls.
Yeah, I mean, I think a huge mindset shift is and I got this from visiting places. Think of businesses where their call center are salespeople. So like, here locally, Defenders, ADT, security, like they're selling you over the phone. So like you go in one of their call centers and it's like, what is going on? I mean, we were down at, it was like a year ago, down at All My Sons Moving. Oh, yeah. And they're selling moving quotes over the phone. It's like, it looks like kind of like Wolf of Wall Street type, like people are just going on the phone and they got scoreboards and all this stuff is going on. And I think even in our industry, even in HVAC, plumbing, electrical, or roofing, or whatever it is, your people that are answering the phone are salespeople. Like you may think, well, the customer called in and they already want something. So how hard of a sale? Yes, it's easier than selling a new system at someone's kitchen table, granted. But they have to sell it because the importance that you place on them being really good at their job is only going to set your technician up for success down the road. Like, I talked to Susie on the phone. She was Tommy talks about it all the time. His mom answering the phone. Yep. Hey, Tommy's going to come out. He's great. He's going to do awesome. All this stuff. It's the same thing. Like if you can have a really, really good experience, that first impression, then you're going to win business when you get out to the home. And so to me, to answer your question, we just had a meeting about it. We're like, well, we have this person, and this person answering the phone. And you're like, well, yeah, I see the hold queues or the missed calls and they're calling people back. And we're like, well, shit, we can't do that. So to me, it's not an expense. Like you need to be able to answer all of those calls. And if you can't, then you need to bring in somebody, because think about the revenue lost. It's like an opportunity cost. Like you're never going to be able to measure it because you don't know what those customers needed, what they were going to buy, anything like that. So to me, it's super important. I think for the build, like I would think if you had 3 or 4 CSRs, and I think most listeners are probably sitting there. If you've got like 2, you probably need 3. If you got 3, you probably need 4. Now, when you get bigger, yeah, you can start to hone that in and what numbers you need and stuff like that. But I would think my suggestion would be like you have a team lead, like someone who's maybe not answering as many calls, but is making sure everybody's doing their thing, but still picking up some overflow. And our supervisors today still do that. Like when it gets really busy, everyone's on the phone. Like you just got to do what you got to do. But, that happens, 3-4 months out of the year.
Yeah. I think I actually just thinking about that. I can't remember if I've talked to you about this or not talked to you about this. I'm sure I've had to have talked to you about it. Because I used to have you will remember this. We used to have at Rhino like 80 some odd call listeners. Like that was their only job, was to listen to every customer's phone call. You remember that? Like we don't have that today, but
it's crazy.
Here in the United States. So like that's a lot of labor costs. To listen to our customers' phone calls. But the reason we did it is we wanted to know exactly what the outcome of the call was. But in the same time, like during the same time, we could also score how the CSRs were doing on the calls, like individually, and then give each of them notes individually. And that was such a labor intensive process. Whereas today, we have our Coach AI tool, which basically has taken millions and millions and millions of our phone calls over all these years, plugged it into an AI machine that we created, to spit out, okay, here's a real time. Here's this overall call performance, for whatever lead is on the specific agent. It gives the coaching notes. It also gives the coaching on sentiment, right? Which has been the biggest pain in the ass, is trying to figure out sentiment. But now it's like something like 99% accuracy. Like, it's so freaking good. Well, the reason I shared that is this is like a type of tool. Like, again, we haven't rolled this thing out. We'll probably roll this thing out as an a la carte option in the near future. Actually, it might even be now. I don't even know. But the point was, it allows someone to be able to manage the CSR team without having to do all the call. It already gives you the notes, ranks the technique, or ranks the CSRs for you, tells you, oh, it seems like of the 400 calls they took, 28 of them are the same objection that they can't overcome. Like, so it even tells you what needs to be coached on it, and it does it all for you. And that's the beauty of AI today. So I guess for what I'm saying is, for anybody who is small, or like the 3 to 4 or the 2 to 3 CSRs, is there are tools like this that can help you. That's not completely going out and finding somebody to manage it while you're smaller.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
You also got to have somebody use it to do something with it too.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to shift gears one more time real quick, because we kind of talked about your main hire. We kind of hit on this CSR thing and paying attention to it, but finding somebody to pay attention to the overall performance, call handling performance of the business. And by the way, if you're the person answering your own phone call, take a look at yourself too, because if you're doing a good job or not.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's flip the switch and let's go to the bad hire. Okay, so we want to talk about a little bit of hiring mistakes. So what's one bad hire that hurt the most? If you have one that stands out to you, I have one that stands out to me, but I'm asking you. And how would you prevent that mistake today? I want our listeners to hear what a bad hire was.
So, I mean, I've had my fair share, for sure. Everybody will. It's part of it. I think for me, it's been not being clear on what I actually wanted the role to do. Like, that's when I've made my worst hires. Like, if you make a hire and you don't have everybody probably has a job description, but do you have KPIs for every position? And we don't yet. We're working on it. But that person needs to have KPIs, and can they actually do this? I think it's also important to talk to people before you hire. Like, one of the main roles that I always get, because I feel like as companies are growing, it's always looking for that marketing person, right? It's like, how do I find the marketing person? And I think for me, it was like, well, I'm not creative. I need someone who's like super creative, right? And it's like, okay, well, that worked for a minute. But then as you get more strategic and you're trying to figure out what source is working and all of this stuff, and I think we made some bad decisions on that. Not that they were a bad person. It's just like, in this industry, you are not a marketing person. You are a lead gen person, and you need to be skilled you need to have a digital background. In my mind, you need to have digital background, and you need to be really comfortable with data. Like, I don't care what the ad looks like. I care that it works. So if black and white is performing better than this big, colorful, fandangled ad, then let's run the black and white one. But I think so often we're looking for like a marketing person who's like super creative and can like do all of these things. And it's like, to me, like, you almost need like a data scientist who can like choreograph, because most of your marketing people, like most of your marketing things, like if you want to run a print ad, they'll design the damn thing for you. Like, yeah, you need to know like, okay, don't do this, make sure this is featured, not this. Like, there's some basics for sure. But I think it's just someone who's really into the data, because that's what marketing is all about. And we talked about it earlier. Like, if you don't know the numbers and how your marketing's performing, you are going to blow a lot of money and wonder why my company's not growing and I'm not making any money.
Yeah, dude, you actually hit on a really good point. I'm glad I think this is something that's worth kind of hanging on for just a second and talking about, is this marketing manager, marketing coordinator role.
Yeah.
I think it gets misunderstood. And I know for a fact, there's a lot of marketing managers and marketing coordinators that killed companies. And the biggest problem is that, one, when you are a marketing manager coming into a company and you, Chad, doesn't understand XYZ, well, it's easy for you to get sold on it, right? Because one, they're in marketing because they usually got good chops, right? They kind of know what to talk about. But do they really? And most, I shouldn't say that. My experience has been is I've worked with a lot of marketing. I had a call just yesterday, and I got a web analysis from their marketing coordinator, right?
Oh,
a web analysis from the marketing coordinator, and it's focused on the metrics that they were focused on to use to determine success was website traffic. Okay. Yeah, you got to get people on the website, but it's so easy to manipulate that number, right? That's not a metric that you actually should be paying attention to. And events now, and this is like kind of a one-off deal, but the point is like a good marketing manager knows what metrics to look at to determine success for their marketing partners. That's it. Lead volume, cost per lead, like per channel. A marketing coordinator is the person that executes on the manager's plan, right? Or is the one that follows up to get the data. But really, what you have to be is like, here's a perfect example. When I became a CMO, like an actual traditional CMO, when I shifted over from CEO to CMO early on, that's basically a funnel math position. Like I could come up with some great ideas and say, we're going to do this. Then I would pass it down and that person would execute. But really my job was to only pay attention to the numbers. That's it. Is what are we spending and what's it generating in business for us and at what cost and how are we performing on it, right? And then that was my job. I was managing the math. By the way, hated that part of it, but I learned a lot.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it. I think that's a good point. Like when you think about interviewing this marketing coordinator, marketing manager, like ask them what was the last campaign you ran and what was the data around it. If they can't answer that, then you probably know you got the wrong candidate. Yeah. Like, I think that's the one thing I always look for, like in, we're kind of looking for a marketing person and I found a resume the other day. And like the thing that was like intriguing about it was like the fact that they put in there drove this percentage of sales, reduced spend by this much. Like to me, that said, okay, this is a marketing person that may be worth talking to because they actually don't put develop creative and really fancy stuff and creative design and all of this. Like there's a place for those people on your team at some point in time, but most of that can be outsourced. You need the person who's going to dive into the data and know how you make money. This is always, so Matt, who you met at Pantheon and met before, but he always says the first day of orientation for anybody on his marketing team is he takes them through, this is how this company makes money. You need to understand how it makes money. And I thought that was so genius. I was like, oh, that's so perfect because you need to understand how the business works and then figure out how marketing fits into that. Like, okay, they need leads and they need good leads. And this is a better lead than that one. Okay, perfect. Well, this is what we want to do.
Yeah. Work it backwards. Because how else do you know what call to actions or words to use or whatever, what creative to use to get to the end result, which is that lead or that type of customer too, by the way. And when you start thinking about plumbing, HVAC, electrical, there's lots of variables within each of those, especially plumbing and electrical, that you could be creating, putting together creative to go after. But I think that's an important conversation to have because I've spoke with so many marketing managers who will literally lie to protect themselves at the risk of hurting the actual company overall.
Yeah.
That happens so frequently. And it's just because, the owners think they know what they're talking about. And then if the marketing company defends themselves, where they're like, well, of course you're just defending yourself for the marketing company. That's what I'm like, God, we should just put out the metrics that matter. Like these are the things that your marketing person should focus on. Like these metrics right here. Then we're all on the same page. Then there is no protecting yourself. Like this is the number.
I sense a newsletter spawning off of this podcast named Metrics That Matter.
Metrics that matter. Okay, metrics.
Hot off the presses.
Yeah, hot off the presses. I think we got something here. Metrics that matter. Okay, and I'll just have my data analysts at Rhino just create the metrics that matter and keep plugging in. Okay, perfect. Okay, we're gonna move on past that one. My God, we're already 40 minutes into this thing. Okay, I'm going to shift gears one more time. We're going to go to operation stuff. Some operations questions. I know you like talking about this too. I know another guy that really loves talking about this. His name is Ken Goodrich, who hasn't been on here in a while. He's like keeps texting me to come on and not keeps texting me, but he and I've been texting back and forth about a bunch of different things. And he's like, I got to get down there. He's spending a little bit more time up in Scottsdale and Tahoe, which is good for him. I'm glad he's doing that. In Vegas and Tahoe. But he loves to talk about systems and processes, right? Like the E-Myth is like, the E-Myth is like what he talks about often. It was his foundation. He wrote the HVAC E-Myth. He wrote the E-Myth Plumber, which is coming out. I don't know if I just like ruined that or not, but if we did, there you go. Surprise. It's coming out soon.
Early release. The early release.
Ooh, early release. You first heard it here. Okay, so when you look back, what system or process do you wish you had implemented earlier that would have saved you years of headaches? And you already talked about the CSR shit, so you can't go down that path.
Yep.
So what system or process do you wish you'd implemented earlier that would have saved you years of headaches?
The turnover process in HVAC sales.
Tech turnovers?
Yeah. I think so many people miss on this, and it's just like you're hoping that you get a turnover and this, that, and the other. So I'll take you through the whole process. So here's how we think about it. So I know that a system has to be over 10 years old for me to turn it over in most cases, right? It's out of warranty, it's getting older, so on and so forth. So it's important that this process starts. I know you said you couldn't talk about the call center, but it starts in the call center. You should be asking, what is the age of their equipment on every single phone call? I don't even care if it's a plumbing call. What's the age of your HVAC system? Like, you can weave it in there somewhere. We need to get that data, because that data allows you to be productive, especially given that we're doing this in August, and here in the Midwest, we are in shoulder season, where the weather is beautiful outside, but that means that most people are not using their HVAC equipment. So once you know how many, so if you got 100 customers and you know that 40 of them have over 10 systems, the first thing you need to do to be effective at a turnover process is you need to make sure that you have those leads on the board. Most people are like, we don't have an install for tomorrow. Well, how many opportunity calls did you have on the board today? What do you mean? Well, yeah, you got to have the opportunities in order to do them. You're not going to probably get a lot of marketed lead leads in 70-degree weather. So making sure that you have that, and then making sure that the technician is dialed in on their process, because so many times we never coach on this turnover process. We coach on turnovers with our technicians almost every single week. Like, the only time we take a break is when we're super busy in the summer. But like, we are coaching on it all the time. What objections are you getting? How are you pitching it? What does it look like? All of these things that you have to go through over and over and over again. And so you get that process dialed in. And then you've got to have a really good turnover process. If you're running in-home comfort advisors, what is the speed at which you are getting that CA to the house? Because the longer that wait time, your close percentage is going down quickly. That's why we do virtual sales now. That's a good plug for Ken. He's the one who created it. So there you go. Someone was asking me about that the other day. They were like, that is such a novel idea. I go, no, got it from Ken. That's who did it. So, but anyway, so like, there's so many steps to taking a service call that is an aged opportunity call all the way to system sale. And to me, it's like, you've got to focus on that. Like, you should know how many opportunities you need to put on the board every day, because you should know your close rate on turnovers, or you should know your turnover rate. So ours runs on maintenance calls, so not a service call. We're aiming for about 15 to 20% of the aged maintenance that we run, we should turn. And so we know that number. And then so you take that down to, then what do we close turnovers at? So we want to close them at about 65%. So we know that number. So then you should be able to predict how many installs you're going to do every single day. Now imagine what impact that would make on the business if you could predict that you can fill your install board when it's 70 degrees outside. And you can. It's possible. Trust me. You don't have to sit here in shoulder season going, well, we haven't had any work. We haven't had any work. We haven't had any work. Is it going to be as plentiful as when it's 95 out? No, I'm not telling you that. But you can sustain and keep the guys busy through shoulder season if you're proactive and really work the whole system through. You can do it.
Dude, that was really good.
Thanks, man.
You were on one.
It is literally like, trust me, for years and years, we were like, oh, it's September. We're not going to have any work. Like, it's just is what it is. Where today, like, do I fill all my crews up? No, but I can still, we're still putting in, 15, 16 systems a day when it's 70 degrees outside.
Yeah, that's great. You said right before you got into that, oh, it's August. I'm like, bro, it's not August. It is.
Did I say August? It's September. I don't know what month it is. It's almost October, for God's sakes. How did we get to this point?
And this podcast actually is out, and it is already October as people are hearing this. But your point is made, and I actually appreciate it. And I can tell you're a little passionate about that. I
am.
That's actually good. You gave the listeners some metrics on what you guys look at as a good benchmark. So I appreciate you doing that. Okay, so I'm gonna just ask one question around expenses. And because there's definitely like things that you take on that you're like, this is really expensive. Perfect example. When people switch CRMs, they think about, if they're switching to ServiceTitan, it's more expensive, or you think about, the onboarding, or it's probably a mixture of both. Like both of them are a big deal, but they cost, it costs a lot, So what's an expense that you use that you used to think, man, this is too expensive. But now you're like, hey, but this is a must have for scaling. So it's easier to see when you're bigger to think about it, I think. But what's like maybe that first big expense that you took on that you're like, oh shit, I could not have scaled without that expense.
Yeah, I think the easy answer is ServiceTitan, right? Yeah, that one's easy. Let me try to think of something else. Obviously having a good software that has good reporting capabilities and all of that. I'm trying to think of like.
Yeah, while you're thinking about it, let me just address that real quick because it's, I think it is a good answer, and I do want to try and get something else out of this.
Yeah,
but that came to mind naturally because to me that seems like it's such a critical piece of scaling these businesses. Do they have to have it? Are there other CRMs that can be used? Yeah, there are. Yeah. I think, but we were just talking through this on like, man. We use in our roofing business, AccuLynx is the CRM that we're on. We will be transitioning to ServiceTitan, but it's a big lift and it's much more expensive. But with the experience that we both have on what it can do to actually help scale your business, it also helps it make it easier, to manage process and pricing and structure. And it does all these other things for you. That's a part of that expense. So yes, the CRM could be one of them, but maybe what's something else that comes to mind on an expense?
What's something else that's expensive?
Well, remember, expensive is relative, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like, what do you get the biggest bang for your buck? Man, I'm like drawing a blank here.
Well, I'm going to bail you out.
All right. Appreciate it.
So there's a couple ways that I can think about it. And that is, let me talk about it from the CRM is one thing. Marketing could be another one, right? Because you don't quite understand how marketing expenses, what they produce. You just think about writing the check and not what actually provides you in the end. Also, I want to say, like, I think it's good to think about what are you offering to your employees, right? Like what sort of benefits or what sort of, like, remember we've done this forever and we still get to do a variation of it now, but at Rhino, even as we scaled from me and Anna to, 250 people or whatever, like we still did that once, that we don't do it today. Now it's like basically once a quarter. But we would do the one Friday, at least once a month, where we would go and do community service. So like nobody's doing work, right? Like it was, I mean, we had to flip flop, right? Because you can't have nobody answer the phones, but at least one day a month, we are paying everybody's salaries to go and just do community service together. Yeah. And when we went to market to look at private equities, they were like, "What?
Yeah,
you're doing what?" Because it is a big, but employee churn was very low, in that time, because it was really good at kind of building that, the team and kind of going and doing something together. I'm just throwing out an example of how you can think about it as like, damn, like that's why would I do that? But I'm thinking long term, like, one, I did a lot of good with it, and a lot of people got to do a lot of good with it. So I feel really good about that. But it was really good for the culture of our business. Like, I really love that part.
Yeah, so I'll say one. I'm going to say two things. One, I'm going to kind of transition the question out, but I think it's still in line with what you're talking about. But one of the benefits that we do that, like, super simple, but people absolutely love it, is, I don't know where I got this idea at. It was from somebody, but we give your birthday off, so it's a paid PTO day. Is your birthday? Yeah, I may have taken it from you. Hell, I don't know. Yep. It was someone. I didn't come up with it.
Give me credit. Give me credit.
Thanks, Chris. The beautiful people at Rhino are proud sponsors of that benefit here at the Peterman Brothers. But it was like the silliest thing. Like, sometimes I feel like the sillier the thing that you give, the more impact it has. Because it's like those little things, but people love having their birthday off. Like, it's like the one thing that's like, yeah, I never get rid of that benefit. I'm like, sure, sounds like a plan. But I can't think of an exact thing, but the one thing I think is important to say here, mainly because we've been at a number of conferences over the month of September. And at all these conferences, there are a lot of vendors, and a lot of these vendors have different solutions. And to your question, a lot of these solutions could end up being those things that have a huge ROI and that are, things you look back upon, you're like, how did we ever operate without this thing? But I think it's important to view all of these options in that lens. Like, what ROI is this thing going to give us? Because I think so many people are stuck in these like shiny object syndrome things. I mean, the one thing that made me think of that was talking to some of the vendors at Tommy's conference. And they were all like, dude, we booked so many demos and all of this stuff. And I'm like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Like, it's good that they're checking it out. And obviously I wish all the vendors, I mean, a lot of them are our friends. I wish them all the success in the world. Hell, you were a vendor there. I wish all the success in the world, but it's like one of these things where, like, I feel like contractors, like, yeah, we're running this and we got this and we got that. And I'm like, does it work? Well, we're not real sure. Okay. Well, maybe just like scale back and start over and make sure that one works. And so I think that's the important thing is, like, trust but verify. Make sure that everything is working properly, or else it's going to turn into an expense that is costing you money because you're not even using any of the capabilities of this new tool.
Yeah. Don't go a mile wide and an inch deep.
Yeah.
We had this conversation so many times. I actually want to throw on one more quick thing to our listeners that I thought was a really cool benefit that we have done differently. I don't know if we still do this today or not, which sounds really bad. So Ryan and Rio, you guys have to tell me if this is like a thing. Do we still do the Misogi benefit? No. Okay. That's gone. So we blame private equity, not Chris Yano. I would love to bring that thing back. Let me tell you why that was such a cool thing. And it's the typical things are, you can get massages, you can get your house cleaned, stuff like that. I love the house cleaning thing because it's always cool when you can come home and not have to do that. And you can just kind of spend time with your family. Right. And you don't have to worry about having somebody clean the house. You come home to a clean house. It feels good. And I love being able to give that benefit to people. But the Misogi was something I learned from a guy named Jesse Itzler. Like, back in 2019, I took my leadership team to Georgia. That's back still when Tall Paul was still our vice president of sales. And we learned about this Misogi benefit. And it was, we would give the employee, or as Tommy says, the teammate, the $1,000 to kind of go and do something that they won't forget that year. Like, this is the most memorable thing. Like, you went skydiving. You'll never forget the time that you went skydiving, and we gave them that opportunity and paid for it for them. Now, Does something directly come from that? No. But it's all part of the culture of the business. Is like, how cool to do something unique like that most others don't do, but you gave them that experience and they might not have gone and done it. Like Elliot wanted to go to do the ice. What to do is a Wim Hof. He wanted to go do like the ice thing in like Switzerland or wherever the hell that Wim Hof guy is.
That sounds like Elliot. That sounds right up his alley.
And clearly that's a little bit more than $1,000, but I was willing to give it to him to give him that experience. And we would do that once a year for everybody, which is a cool benefit to give them, because when you treat somebody like that, like this is where I kind of going with it, is it's just different and it makes people feel a little bit more special. It's not so work related, but then ultimately the hope is that they continue to work really hard for you when it gets hard, right? Because you're taking good care of them. Okay. I'm going to shift gears one more time, Chad, because we're kind of coming up on the end of this thing. I missed one question I wanted to hit on, but I'm going to go switch to like, maybe let's have a legacy question or perspective. I think we're too young to talk legacy. I mean, you're too young to talk legacy.
Yeah, we're just getting started.
I got 4, maybe 5 in me, and then
4, maybe 5 in you.
And I'm tapping out. What's the hardest lesson? Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to change this one up. If your younger self, if little old Chadwick, by the way, everybody who's listening, that's his real name, Chadwick.
No, it isn't.
Well, I'm doing that to you, man. Pete Peterman, if you're listening, and I know you have been, you missed a good opportunity to call him Chadwick. If you're if little Chad was listening to this episode, what's the one play? The one thing that you would tell him to run immediately, to do immediately? And this might take you back to your first aha moment with your Nexstar partnership, when you're like, oh, do what Jim did, do what John did, do this. If you're talking to little old Chad, the Ron Collie ringer, who's listening to this podcast, just trying to be something great, trying to be something special, trying to be a little giant.
Yep.
What is it that you're telling him to go and do now? And by the way, this can be anything. I don't care if it's business, personal, whatever it is. Like, what would you tell little Chad?
So I think for me, it's more on the personal growth side. Now that can mean a lot of different things, like read books, listen to podcasts. There's so much information out there. It's great. Obviously be careful who you listen to, but I think the biggest thing for me, like just thinking back, so I started working in 2011 and it was probably 2015 before I ever talked to another contractor. And that sounds weird in today's environment with all the conferences and stuff. I think I spent the first 4 years, I don't know that I ever went to a conference and met any other contractors. I don't know that I went on a shop tour. I never asked questions. And some of it was I didn't even know what questions to ask. I didn't even know what the hell we were trying to do. But I think that, and a lot of it is these, I get so many questions and great questions and conversations at these events where people are coming up and asking hey, how do I do this? Or, hey, this seems to not be working. How do I fix this? And a lot of it are really simple answers, but it's not that they're stupid. It's just that, oh, I didn't think of that. And I've had I probably had some of those today. What in the hell are we doing? Why didn't we do it like that? So I think the more you can get out and network and interact with people, shop tours are great. Go see those and find out what people are doing. I mean, I still talk about it today. When I went to Morris Jenkins in 2018, it changed, sounds weird, but literally changed probably the course of our business. And Jonathan and Brandon down there still joke with me. My COO was down there a month ago and he's like, well, we told him to do that in 2018. You guys still aren't doing that? And I'm like, well, okay, sorry. Sorry you guys are, got it all figured out. If you ever want to feel bad about yourself, go there. They've got a lot of shit figured out. That is for sure. But stuff like that, it's I still remember that. I could still walk you through their building with my eyes closed. It soaked it all up. And I think the more of that people can do and see what's possible. For me, that was the biggest thing. Like once I saw it, I'm like, all right, it's possible. We just got to figure it out. And I think so often, you get stuck. There's no growth. You're struggling. You're fighting up against, it seems like you're hitting your head up against the wall. And sometimes the unlock is just seeing that it's possible. And for me, that's what it was. I mean, I've been, fortunate enough to go to a bunch of great ones, whether it be Horizon or, obviously Morris Jink. I mean, just a ton of shops that it's like, holy crap, like we got to get our shit together because these guys are crushing it.
Yeah, and you went and saw other places too, like that are which is cool. I think that's a really great answer for a couple reasons. One, it gives you a chance to see what's possible, right? Or what is currently being done that you could do. But it also gives you the visual. And I think visual cues, like you said, you can walk through it with your eyes closed. You also, these visual cues create, a feeling in you, which then creates some sort of action if you really want it. Because if you can see, that's why visualization, I think, is such a cool thing. And I did visualization for a long time. Like we just kind of sit there and think through as if you've already accomplished the thing. So you can kind of get the feeling of it. That's a like trained technique, I listened to podcasts that taught me how to do this and I just did them. And it feels weird sometimes, at Home Service Freedom, I talked about, I did a keynote for those who are listening. I did a keynote presentation at Home Service Freedom. There's about 1,500 contractors, something like that, Chad.
Yeah.
And I did an exercise with the crowd to say, what's three things that, when you think about yourself today, what are the three things that you would say, to yourself in the mirror? And then what are three things you would like to, you would like yourself to be? And the point is like talking to yourself is important. Like how you talk to yourself is super important. And people feel like it's weird. It's not weird. It's very normal. And a lot of very successful people kind of talk to themselves. It doesn't have to be verbally, right? But like you definitely are like, it's just like if you're an athlete, like you're sitting there thinking like, okay, like you pump yourself up however you do it or whatever. Before I go on stage and speak, I'm still talking to myself back there, like telling myself, okay, this is what I want to accomplish on this thing. And I belong here. And because I have this skill, like I like pep talking myself, but that's really an important piece of it is to be able to visualize like what you want and what you're working towards. And the best way to do that is to go see the things that you want to be like, because once you see it with your own eyes, now you can see what it actually looks like, where you're trying to go actually looks like. And you have that in your brain.
Absolutely. I will tell listeners though, just as a disclaimer, I've been trying that exercise that you did at Home Service Freedom. And I keep telling myself that I'm going to be taller and I'm not getting any taller.
It's not a magic mirror, bro.
No. So can't visualize that, but business wise, yeah, it works great. But height, no, it's not gonna get me up to the 6 foot range, I guess.
Listeners, did you hear that? Listeners, did you hear that? Chad came to us with jokes. He came to us with a joke. Yep. Instead of a dad joke, it was a Chad joke.
There you go.
Oh yeah. Okay. Here's my piece of advice. It's gonna be very simple. Take action. Right. I've said this many times from stage, but ambition without action is useless. So, it's great. They have all the ambition. You can go and to visit the places and do the things and write down the shit and meet the people. But if you do nothing with it, it's no good. It was a complete waste of time. So just take action. If I'm going to tell little Chris, Mason calls me a little boy. I'm going to call myself little Chris. I would say, take action, man. Like I've always pretty much dreamed big. And I've went after everything that I thought I could do, even when like it seems completely unreasonable. That's the gift that I know that I've had for myself is I'm not afraid to take action, even if I don't have all the shit figured out. So to everybody listening, take action, go and try the things and be okay with failing and be okay with being embarrassed. Because on the other side of that stuff is something incredible. If you actually keep chasing it down, you have the vision and you go see the things. So, dude, great episode today. Thank you for just playing along with all the shit that we come up with for these episodes. That was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully it helps. I mean, there's a lot to me, this one is really good because there's a lot of stuff you can just take action on. Like, go do it.
Yeah. We talked marketing, we talked leadership and people, we talked ops, we talked, perspective, goals, all this stuff. And it was good, man. Good episode. So I listen, Lil Pete did not was not disruptive at all through 99% of this. Like Granny came to save the day. You tell her I said hello, by the way, and that I miss her.
Noni is a godsend. She's the greatest. I lucked out. I hit the lottery in the mother-in-law lottery. That is for sure.
Yeah. I get to share whenever I come in, I get to stay in her room. So I'm always grateful for her.
Exactly.
All right, man. Well, listen, I'm going to hop off here. You're going to hop off here. We're going to go do our thing. You get back to little Pete. I know it's later there. The sun's going down a little bit sooner there. So, and I got to get myself ready to go to the Cardinals game with my son. So appreciate you, bro. To all of our listeners, like Chad said, we gave a lot of tactical information here. Chad shared some really great stuff. Hopefully I was able to give you some things that you could take away with it. And as we always say, you ain't got to do everything, Chadwick.
But you got to do something.
No 0 days.